Hello, this is MrChabry, and you guys voted for the Electric type Gym Leader Challenge, so that's what we're going to do. Not only are we going to be creating a team for an Electric type gym, but we're going to be creating a band. My Electric types are going to be a part of this band, led by Faraday, one of the greatest band managers of all time. That's what I'm going to name my character. Our rival is going to be Marconi. He wants to create a band that will rival ours, but ours will win the Battle of the Bands. Let's go ahead and get started. Of course, with Electric types, I'm not going to have access to them early on, since I've only got access to Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. But what I can do is choose Squirtle. With that, Faraday is going to choose Bulbasaur. He's going to give us more of a challenge with our Electric types that way. Now that we're in Viridian Forest, we can finally catch our first team member. And we actually spend quite a bit of time in here trying to find that specific Pokemon. And after about an hour of trying to get myself a Pikachu, we finally come across a Pikachu and we're finally able to capture it. Knowing that our first challenge point is going to be Brock, I'm going to use this time to train up Pikachu as much as I can before I go and challenge the Rock-type Gym Leader. And the fact that the only Pokemon we can grind is with these level 3, level 5 Rattatas, Pidgeys. There's not really much experience to be gained, but we have to do it because otherwise Pikachu has no way of getting past Geodude or getting past the Onix. At level 16, I believe it's time to try out, challenge Brock, see if we can power through these rock type. Now the thing about Brock is his rock types also have the ground typing, making electric unable to do any form of damage. So we're going to have to rely on quick attack to get any sort of damage. Now the thing is that Brock's Pokemon both resist normal type moves, and not only that, their defense is sky high, especially Onix. Now, Onix is a Pokemon that normally you're not going to have so much trouble with, especially if you've got the other starters. Squirtle and Bulbasaur cut through Onix like butter, but Charmander can also hold its own because its special, Onix's special, is so low. So we've got Onix out here. We've taken so much damage from Geodude. We're going to throw a bunch of growls to lower this thing's attack. And as it goes for a bide, we're going to heal up, and we're just going to waste time by clicking Thunder Wave so we don't take any bide damage back. Now you can see that in terms of tackle versus quick attack, obviously Onix is doing a little bit more damage. Pikachu's already damaged itself, but we are making a little bit of trackway. Now the problem is whenever Onix goes for bide, I have to waste turns. That's kind of hurting me. But I'm going to just let Pikachu go down because I can see that even with potions, it's not going to help out. I need more levels. 2 more levels and I decide I'm going to give it another shot. Now, this is very reminiscent of when Ash tried to defeat Brock in the anime. He had to go off train before he could even have a chance. And it's very close to him losing in the actual rematch. Here we are with our rematch. You can see that Geodude is taking more damage over time with quick attack than before. Those defense curls are still giving us some trouble, but we're able to finally knock that out, and we have more health than we did normally. I'm going to go ahead and use Growl to try to shut this thing's attack down, because thinking about it, it's going to really depend on us doing more overall damage in the long run versus Onix. Onix is going to keep going for Screech, which is going to undo our growls, unfortunately. We're going to go down, but we're going to hop right back in for another attempt. And in this attempt, things are going to go way better. This attempt, we're going to be getting some nice crits. That's because Pikachu's speed has been increased to the point where it's going to be getting more crits now. And that's the thing about Generation 1. Crits are based off of speed. So that when we get to the Onix, we actually have quite a bit of health left over. We're going to shut this thing's attack down, but Onix does have higher speed than Geodude, so we're going to have far fewer critical hits. However, whenever this thing goes for bite, remember we have to waste those turns, because if we try to attack it, it's going to hit us back with even more damage. And you can see here, we're actually making great progress. Of course, it looks like it's going to be really, really close. And we need a crit. That's the big thing that we're really needing, is that crit. And we're going to get it last turn. After a long trek through Mount Moon, we're finally here in Cerulean City. And I'm going to go ahead and challenge Misty, the Water-type Gym Leader. That's because I've got Electric-type with Pikachu. I've got the advantage, and I'm pretty sure I should be able to handle this pretty well. Misty starts off with her Staryu. We're going to Thunder Shock this into oblivion. It takes 2 to knock it out. And Starmie has slightly higher special, so it's going to take 3 hits. That's okay. We take it out pretty easy. Second gym badge, a lot quicker than the first. Let's hop right into our next rival battle. Pikachu easily cuts through the Pidgeotto. Now, the Abra really can't do anything to us, so I'm going to go for Mega Punch and one-shot it. Mega Punch one-shots the Rattata, and Bulbasaur is cut down pretty quickly with a swift Mega Punch. Faraday and Pikachu learn about this gig on the ship SS, and they're going to go ahead and join so that way they can have their name on the list. And of course, Marconi is going to enter his band on the SS, and we're going to have to stop him, show him that even though Pikachu right now is a solo act, it's still stronger than the entirety of his team. Just like before, Pidgeotto, Eradicate easily knocked out. Kadabra stands no chance. Ivysaur is probably the one that has the best bulk, but it's still a 2-hit KO. Marconi, I'm sorry, your band does not cut it. As our adventure continues, we want to become the first Electric-type Gym Leader, and we want to grow out our band, get some new talent. We need some more Electric types for the job. And here we're going to finally have access to the next Pokemon we're going to add to our team, and that's going to be Voltorb. Now that our solo act is a duo, we are ready to take on Rock Tunnel. It couldn't be too hard, now can it? After the grueling trek, we finally make it to the other side, and we finally make it to Lavender Town. Upon reaching Celadon, we learn of a solo act that's become pretty popular here. We're going to bring aboard Eevee and evolve it into Jolteon. Pikachu also evolves as well. We end up coming in for another gig, and this one is at Lavender Tower. Once we get there, we see that Marconi is already here with his band warming up. There's only room for one show tonight, and we've got just the band to do it. Marconi leads off with his Pidgeotto, and I'm going to go ahead and use Reflect with my Jolteon. I do end up switching up because of the sand attack. It's going to be annoying, and I completely destroy the Pidgeotto. Thundershock completely destroys Gyarados as well. Growl comes out, and I want to get some experience for Voltorb because it's kind of behind in levels. A Raichu destroys it with a Mega Punch. We're going to get some more experience on Voltorb. I'm going to go ahead and Thunder Wave to slow this thing down, and Voltorb is able to take it out on its own. Finally is the Ivysaur. This is the Pokemon that kind of scares me when it comes to Marconi's team. We're going to paralyze it, get hit with a Leech Seed. I'm going to have to switch because I do not want to be healing this thing up. And back and forth, we're able to finally defeat Ivysaur. One thing is they didn't bother to tell us that this place is actually haunted with actual ghosts. We're not sticking around. We're headed on out of here. Now we make it to Erica's Grass-type gym. And of course, this is going to be a challenge because Grass-type resists Electric. And I'm actually coming in here with my Pokemon already kind of damaged from the trainers. I should have went back and healed, but I went ahead and jumped right into this. We're going to take quite a bit of damage from the Victory Bell. Victory Bell being really tough to handle. Next up is Tangela. and I'm wanting to slow this thing down, maybe get a paralysis on it, so that way we can have some better outcomes here. I'm going to go ahead and use some Sonic Booms because it's a fixed damage move, and it's honestly Voltorb's best move, I do believe, at this point. Next up is the Vileplume. I'm going to slow it down with a Thunder Wave, and then I'm going to switch into Jolteon, hoping that I can knock this thing out. We're going to get some Sand Attack that's going to lower the accuracy, and really what I'm hoping is for some misses. We miss our own Mega Punch, and I'm actually expecting this thing just to start sweeping me, so I send out my HM Pokemon, so that way it's not going to be the last one standing, but Vileplume actually starts hitting itself in confusion. And I'm just trying to let it knock out my HM Pokemon, but I see that Erica's not going to actually attack this thing. It's like, my HM Pokemon's a grass type, and she can't bring herself to attack it. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Voltorb and just hope that Voltorb can do it. My thought was, hey, Voltorb's going to be the last Pokemon, but she's not going to attack the grass type HM Pokemon. Might as well send Voltorb out. Next up is Giovanni here at Celadon City. And this is kind of a flashback for Raichu, but now Raichu has the tools to cut right through Onix. Of course, Giovanni has his ground-type Pokemon, and normally we would be struggling, but Raichu with that Mega Punch is able to do quite a bit of damage. Plus, we do have a level advantage here. Voltorb wants to learn Light Screen, and I think, honestly, Light Screen might not be the best, so I'm just going to skip out. We're going to try to get some experience on our Voltorb as I get Raichu out here to face on this Kangaskhan, and we will knock it out. By hour 16, we finally make it to Fuchsia City, and our Voltorb has finally evolved into Electro. Now I feel like we're ready to take on Koga. I'm going to lead off with Jolteon so I can get some nice Thunder Shocks here on this Koffing. Koffing does have some decent bulk, but we're able to knock it out. Muck has more bulk, and I'm going to go into Raichu so I can throw off some Mega Punches. It takes about 3. Next up is another Koffing. I'm going to go into Jolteon, and I want to try to set this thing up so I can handle the Wheezing. I'm going to throw some Sand Attacks and a Reflect. Generation 1 Poison-type moves are physical, so Reflect will help us out in that. And Sand Attack will help us dodge some of these hits. Unfortunately, Smoke Screen is going to hurt us there because our accuracy has been lowered. And we're going to miss a Thunder Shock as we get hit with a Toxic. But Koga is going to click Self-Destruct, just giving us that battle on a silver platter. Faraday learns about this other group that performs at the power plant. And you know what? He thinks it's a good idea. We're going to combine the two groups into a super group. That way, the battle of bands will be ours. Joining the band is Magneton, Electabuzz, and Zapdos. Now, Zapdos was the toughest one to catch out of these 3 Pokemon that we found in the power plant. It took quite a few Ultra Balls. I had this thing paralyzed down to 1 HP. And I still had to chuck a ton of Ultra Balls. Finally, after the torrent of Ultra Balls, we finally caught this thing. This thing's going to probably be the MVP going forward. First things first, we're going to go ahead and go down into Seafoam Island's cave. That's because Zapdos has to prove that it is the better legendary bird. And Zapdos is going to get frozen. But the thing is, Zapdos isn't here alone. Zapdos is here with the rest of the band, and the band works together. Before moving on to the next part of our challenge, I need to train up some of these newer Pokemon, so that way they're at least on par with the rest of my team. 20 hours in, and it's time for us to go to Silphco. We've heard that there is a gig to be had there, and of course, we're going to see Marconi trying to get his band into that gig. But we're here, we're ready to rock, so that's what we're going to do. Electro takes out the Pidgeot. Next up is Gyarados, and Gyarados just goes down so easily to electric types. It is water and flying, quad weak. Growlithe really doesn't stand a chance either. Next up is Alakazam. Now, Alakazam has good special, so it more likely will take a hit. So I'm going to go with Takedown, and that does quite a bit of damage. Quick Attack will finish it off. Venusaur's here, and I do have Fly, which will one-shot the Venusaur. After we have defeated Marconi, we're ready to perform with our band. And who's here to catch the performance? Giovanni. So we're going to go ahead, use Thunder on the Nidorino. We're going to knock it down with one hit. And of course, Giovanni has his Kangaskhan, but he is known mostly for his ground types. So now, with Rhyhorn coming out, I'm going to go into Zapdos. Just because I don't really have anything great against the Rhyhorn, but I feel like Fly might be the best option because it's going to do some damage over time. Next up is the Nidoqueen, and we're going to go ahead do less than half, it looks. So it's going to be a 3-hit KO, but not too difficult. Now we're ready to take on Sabrina and her Psychic-type Pokemon. She leads off with her Kadabra, and I'm going to slow it down with a Paralysis from Electrode. We see that this thing is still doing quite a bit of damage just because it's got high special, and we're trying to battle it with our special. So we're going to go ahead and use Takedown to finish it off. Quick Attack. Jolteon wants to learn Tail Whip. Not a good move, especially at this point in the game. I go for Mega Punch with Raichu, trying to stop the Mr. Mime before it sets stuff up, but it does get that light screen up, just really annoying. Next up is the Venomoth, of course, something that's not Psychic type, but she has it on her team, and it actually takes things pretty well. It paralyzes the Raichu, and just back and forth, and it finally goes down. Next up is the Alakazam, and to be fair, I am kind of nervous about this thing, but I do know it has terrible defense, and a Fly will finish it off. Next up is Blaine, the Fire-type gym leader, and I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of use out of Electabuzz. A Strength will take out the Growlithe, 2 of those. Now we're going to go into Magneton with the Ponyta, and I go ahead and get a Reflect because I know Ponyta likes to hit with physical moves. However, it does get a crit, which just breaks right through our Reflect, which is really annoying, but we're finally able to take it out. I'm going to go ahead and go into Zapdos because I've got Thunder on this thing, and it one-shots the Rapidash. Next up is Arcanine, and Thunder almost takes it out. I'm going to go ahead and Fly, but we actually missed the Fly, which is really annoying. And it's going to take quite a few of those Thunder Shock, not doing as much, but we do finally defeat the Fire-type gym leader.
Have you defeated the Vermilion City gym leader?
Vermilion has a gym leader? What type do they use?
He uses electric types.
Here we are back at Vermilion City, and it's time for us to show this Lieutenant Surge. Rock and roll will bring peace to the world. And after what feels like an ungodly amount of time trying to solve this puzzle, we're ready to show Lieutenant Surge some rock and roll. Finally, it's time to face Giovanni for the final time. He uses ground type. Electric can do nothing to ground, so I'm going to have to play this around differently. We're going to use Psychic on Electabuzz. I think Psychic works very well on Electabuzz. It gives it access to a good special move that's going to hit some of these rock ground types pretty well. I'm going to go into Zapdos for the Dugtrio, and for Nidoqueen we're going to go back because Psychic is super effective. And it looks like it's going to be a 2-hit KO, but it actually is a 3-hit KO. It's weird how that roll looked that way. Next up is Nidoking, and Nidoking has less bulk than Nidoqueen, so we do get it on a 2-hit KO. Of course, that last one was a crit. And finally is Rhydon. So I'm going to try to confuse this because Rhydon is pretty difficult to defeat. And I'm going to throw Screeches at this thing. The thing I didn't realize is that he used a guard spec. And I should have really thought about that, but I kind of forgot once I got Electrode out here. My whole plan was to lower this thing's defense, so that way Fly can do more damage. But then after a while, I was like, oh yeah, he used Guard Spec. I can't do that. So it's just going to have to be back and forth with Fly. And really, he's using Horn Drill and Fissure, but those moves are based off of speed. So since I'm faster, it will never work. And we do finally knock out that Rhydon. On our way to Indigo Plateau, we learn of a new gig up there, and it looks like Marconi is already trying to butt in on that. So we have to show some more rock and roll. We go ahead and take out that Pidgeot. Rhyhorn is out. I'm going to confuse it, so that way I can do a little more damage without worrying about taking that much damage back on myself. And a Psychic is really the best thing because it doesn't resist that, and Electabuzz gets to use its special. Thundershock does not quite one-shot the Gyarados, surprisingly, but we do Quick Attack, knocking it out. Growlithe is out here, and it hits us with an Ember, and we end up getting burnt. Now, that's not that great, but I still finish it off with Electabuzz. Next up is Alakazam, and at this point, Alakazam can actually take hits a little bit better than it was. That's because it's quite ahead of us in levels. If you notice, we're actually kind of behind in levels at this point. I'm going to go ahead and Mega Punch to finish it off, and that leaves Venusaur. And with Zapdos, Venusaur is no longer a threat to us. It just takes 2 flies, and it's done. Before we leave Victory Road, Zapdos has one more score to settle, one more thing to make clear, and Moltres goes down with 1 Thunder. First of the Elite Four is Lorelei, and the thing about Lorelei is even though that she is an Ice type Elite Four member, her Pokemon, most of them at least, have the Water typing, so that's going to give us an opportunity to hit her with some super effective moves. Dugong goes down after taking a quick nap, and a Thunder Punch from Electabuzz is going to do some good damage. Cloyster goes down. Next up is Slowbro. Now Slowbro can take hits decently well because it's got some bulk, and with Amnesia it's going to raise up its special, which is kind of scary. I'm going to paralyze it, trying to slow it down, maybe get some paralysis as I go into Zapdos for a Thunderbolt. Luckily the Water Gun doesn't really do that much, so we're still okay with that. Next up is Jinx. This thing does not have the Water typing, but it has lower defense than special, so I'm going to hit it with some Mega Punches as it finishes off the Raichu with a Body Slam. Supersonic misses, and I decide I'm going to have to slow this thing down and hope to get some good damage on it that way. It's going to go for a Thrash and lock itself in as I go into Jolteon and get some Thunder Shocks, finishing it off. Next up is Lapras. This thing does have the Water typing, but we missed the Thunder, which is annoying, and it's going to live the second Thunder. It does hit us with 2 Blizzards, which is annoying, but Thundershock finishes it off. Next up is Bruno. Now, Bruno is a fighting type Elite Four trainer, but he has 2 Onyxes, and I want to kind of use this as an opportunity to show where we were before and where we are now. We just cut through Onyx like it's nothing at this point. Hitmonchan can really do nothing to us. He goes for Thunder Punch, which is weird, and then Hitmonlee goes down to a Quick Attack and a Psychic. Next up is another Onyx. Hey, we've already cut through this thing pretty quickly. He's wasting time with X-Defense. And now is the Pokemon of his. It's actually kind of making me nervous because it has enough bulk to take a Psychic. We get a crit in that second one, so it works out in the end. Next up is Agatha. And even though she is a Ghost type Elite Four trainer, her Pokemon also have that Poison typing that we can use Psychic against. She's actually going to go into Golbat as I switch it up for Thunder Punch. Main thing was I wanted to paralyze the Gengar, but I end up doing a lot of damage to that Golbat. We're going to go ahead and get taken out by those Nightshades. See, the thing about Gengar is it actually has really high special. She's going to hit me with a Hypnosis, and you're going to see she's going to hit another Hypnosis. You know, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like 55 accuracy, whatever they say. It's like every time she uses it, it hits us. But we're finally able to take out the Gengar. We've got Thunderbolt doing a lot to the Haunter, doing a lot to the Arbok. Really not a good switch for her because it's just going to give us an opportunity to take some of these mons out. And then finally, the final Gengar, and Thunder will do 2-hit KO. We are confused, and with this being an Elite Four trainer battle, of course, we're going to have poor luck, but we do finally take out that final Gengar. Now it's time for Dragon-type Lance. Most of his Pokemon have the Flying type, meaning we're going to be able to take advantage of that. Gyarados stands no chance. The Dragonair, the only pure dragons that he has, and we're going to be able to 2-hit KO it with a Thunder and a Fly. The second Dragonair, we do the same thing, but this time with 2 flies. Now we see the Hyper Beam miss. Keep Hyper Beam in mind because I'm going to explain a weird mechanic with it in a little bit. Aerodactyl goes down. Pretty easy, that flying type. Dragon Knight, his final Pokemon comes out, and we do about half with a nice Thunderbolt. Now we're going to paralyze this thing. That's because this thing is fast, and I want to have a better chance. We actually miss that Mega Punch, which is really bad for us. I'm going to go ahead and Thunder this thing as Dragonite gets fully healed. Now I'm going to lower its defense with the hopes that maybe Electabuzz can help us out with this thing. And here's the Hyper Beam. Like I said, Hyper Beam has an interesting mechanic in Generation 1. I'm going to Reflect to try to take another Hyper Beam. If you knock out your opponent with a Hyper Beam, you do not have to recharge. So even with the Reflect, he gets a crit, doesn't have to recharge. He could throw another Hyper Beam, and that's what he actually does. We're going to lose to this Hyper Beam mechanic. So I'm going to hop right back into the battle. Looks like that Hyper Beam mechanic is really the thing that we need to watch out for. Gyarados stands no chance. Dragonair, we've already seen, is a 2-hit KO from Fly, so we're going to stick to that. And the second Dragonair gets critted that first time. Of course, I know he's going to use a Hyper Potion, so I'm going to switch it up with Thunderbolt. Then click Thunder to make sure I get that knockout. Next up is Aerodactyl. I missed the Thunder, which is annoying, and I hit myself in confusion twice. We missed the Thunder. We're actually doing really poor here. I do have Rest on the Zapdos, and I'm going to use that as an opportunity to heal myself up. And then we see that Hyper Beam. This time it hits, but it doesn't knock me out, so I do get a nice hit there. Thunder almost knocks it out, and I finally hit that second Thunder, giving us the victory. And here we are at the Battle of the Bands. Who do we see but Marconi and his band? It's time to have one final epic showdown of the ages. Zapdos versus Pidgeot. Well, Zapdos completely destroys that Pidgeot. Alakazam comes out, and I'm going to slow this thing down because Alakazam is fast. It's a higher level than all my Pokemon, so I'm honestly nervous about this thing. Raichu goes down to a few Psychics. Going to hit Fly with Zapdos and take it out. Next up is Rhydon, and Psychic really is my best bet against this thing, but you can see it's still not doing that much. I'm just going to throw as many Psychics as I can, and he ends up just letting me knock it out with just Psychic. Thunder Punch on the Gyarados, it actually takes one, and it hits us with a Hydro Pump, and Electabuzz goes down. Jolteon comes out. I know it's fast. It's going to one-shot that Gyarados from where it was. Now Arcanine is here. I'm going to go ahead and set up a Reflect and paralyze it, because I know Arcanine a lot of times will be using those physical moves, but this one has Ember of all things. I'm going to keep throwing Thunder Shocks as it just throws roars all over the place. It's not going to do anything. Last up is that Venusaur. I'm going to go ahead and paralyze it, and now I can go into my Zapdos. We've already seen that this thing struggles to do anything against my Zapdos, so 2 flies, and it's done. We have won the Battle of the Bands. And now that we have won the Battle of the Bands, it's time to put our band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've got Zapdos, really the MVP since we caught this thing at the power plant. Really good stats. I gave this thing Thunderbolt. It had Thunder, Fly, did so many things. Electabuzz helping us out with some of those rock and ground types that normally we would struggle with, having use of that Psychic. Magneton actually making some use of that Sonic, Supersonic. I used that whenever I felt like I needed that. Jolteon coming in, it had Quick Attack, had Takedown, Thunder Wave. It did a lot of good work throughout this playthrough. Electrode, that fast Pokemon, it wasn't as useful as some of these. I really relied on Thunder on that one because I wanted to give Zapdos Thunderbolt. Raichu, my first Pokemon on this team. Really an MVP in its own right. Mega Punch coming through. And then here it is, Faraday, with a time of 24 hours, 23 minutes. Really good. I never got that Flash HM. Of course, Professor Oak's going to remind me of that. But now, I'm going to make my way to Cerulean Cave. Why? There's one more challenge there. And it's actually not this trainer. I just wanted to kind of give an idea that, hey, I skipped this trainer early on. This is one of those things where an early trainer comes across someone that they don't realize is now the champion. And I'm just going to demolish this guy's entire team. He's here thinking, oh, I'm going to catch this guy off guard with my Rattata and my Ekans. No, he just got destroyed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Faraday, and his team. There's only one more thing in the way of Zapdos claiming himself as the best legendary of Kanto. That's going to be this Mewtwo. So the first thing is I'm wanting to slow this thing down with a Thunder Wave. You see it there, just destroy my Electrode. And I'm actually kind of nervous on how this thing is going to destroy my team. I'm going to go ahead, go back in Electrode because I want to get some chip with Explosion. Just to get some use out of that move. And it really didn't do much. Now Zapdos is out here. I'm going to go for Fly as this thing boosts up its defense, which is kind of crazy. And I keep missing these Thunders. But finally I do get 2 Thunders, finishing this thing off. Zapdos is the true legendary. And now that we have done all of the stuff with our band, it's time to retire from that rock and roll lifestyle. Find a nice little place here in Vermilion City now that we are the electric type gym leader. And we're going to call it a day. So, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you in the next Pokemon video.